Align the panel. Check the load path indicators.
Blue arrows confirmed. We are clear for the next
When
span.
you picture war, what usually comes to mind? Soldiers, tanks, major battles, right? But just behind those front lines, there's a totally different kind of war going on. It's this constant, high-stakes race between construction and pure destruction. And that's the untold story of how nations have to engineer survival right in the middle of all that chaos. Think about it. The very first casualty of any conflict? It's almost always the infrastructure. Bridges get blown, roads are turned into craters, and airfields are just gone. And once those lifelines are cut, everything, and I mean everything, grinds to a halt. Soldiers are stuck, supplies can't get in, and civilians are left with nothing.
And this is the real tension of what we're talking about today. In the middle of all that devastation, you have this army of builders who are racing against time and under constant threat to literally stitch a nation back together. One bridge, one runway, one lifeline at a time.
So who are these unsung heroes? Well, they're not your average construction crew, that's for sure. They are a special kind of soldier, fighting on a totally different front line, the one that keeps both armies and civilians alive.
They go by a few names: combat engineers or sometimes sappers. Their entire job is to be what's called a force multiplier. They are just absolute masters of movement, of creating obstacles, and of survival. They literally use their skills to reshape the battlefield.
What's so wild is just how much they have to do. I mean, one day they could be building a bridge so an armored division can push forward. The very next day, they might be blowing one up to stop an enemy advance. They're out there building bunkers, clearing minefields, paving roads. They are the ultimate problem solvers in the military.
So, let's zoom in on one of their most critical jobs, getting across gaps. A single destroyed bridge can stop an entire army in its tracks. But what if you could throw up a brand new one in just a matter of hours? I mean, this quote right here from Field Marshal Montgomery, one of the most famous commanders of World War II, it says it all. Being able to quickly build a bridge wasn't just some nice-to-have thing, it was a capability that could actually win the war. And it was all thanks to one truly revolutionary piece of engineering.
And here it is, the brilliant Bailey Bridge. Now, this was designed during World War II with two things in mind: speed and simplicity. Every single piece was standardized, interchangeable. This wasn't just a tool for crossing a river, it was almost a psychological weapon. It let armies maintain their momentum, pop up where they weren't expected, and completely mess with enemy strategy.
Honestly, this is the perfect way to picture it. You don't need giant, heavy cranes or a bunch of complex tools. The pieces were designed so that soldiers could handle them, bolt them together by hand, and create these incredibly strong structures just piece by piece.
So how'd they do it? It's actually a pretty straightforward process. First, the engineers check out the site. Then, they start assembling the bridge on their side of the gap, just bolting the panels together. Then they literally push the whole growing structure out over the gap on rollers. Once it's across, they lay down the road decking and bam! In just a few hours, you could have 60-ton tanks rolling across. Incredible.
Okay, so crossing rivers was a huge challenge, but controlling the skies was every bit as important. And that meant you had to be able to build or repair an airfield practically overnight. Because, let's face it, it's way easier to take out an aircraft when it's sitting on the ground. And the technology for this stuff just evolved at a breakneck speed. I mean, we went from simple grass fields in World War I to these runways made of interlocking steel mats in Korea. And today, engineers use these advanced techniques like special polymer concrete that can set in under an hour, or they roll out these foldable fiberglass mats to get a cratered runway back in business in a tiny fraction of the time it took to destroy it.
So, getting around is obviously key, but once the fighting starts, you're gonna have casualties. That's just a fact. And keeping people alive, both soldiers and civilians, means you have to protect the most vulnerable places on the battlefield, the hospitals.
So how in the world do you protect a hospital from an air raid? Simple. You put it where the bombs can't get to it. During World War II, in places like Mount Isa, Australia, local miners did exactly that. They used their skills to carve fully functioning hospitals deep inside the earth. This let medical teams do their work safely, even while attacks were raging right above their heads. A truly amazing feat of engineering for protection.
So as you can see, this kind of engineering is about so much more than just steel and concrete. It really comes down to ingenuity, incredible speed, and a whole lot of courage. Because none of this work happens in a nice, safe construction zone.
And this right here is the reality that makes combat engineering completely different from any other kind of construction. Every single task, whether you're laying down a bridge panel or clearing rubble from a runway, is done with the constant threat of an enemy attack.
Just try to imagine it. Building a bridge in the pitch black of night just so the enemy doesn't spot you. Or repairing a bombed-out runway knowing that another attack could come at any second. This is the world that combat engineers live in. It's a world of insane pressure, where their work is literally the difference between victory and defeat, between life and death.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. For every single act of destruction in war, there's an equal and opposite act of creation. While bombs and bullets are tearing things down, it's the engineers who are building them back up, keeping the heart of an army and an entire nation beating. You see, behind every victory, there are always builders.
It's a really powerful question to leave you with, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, this kind of work isn't just about winning a war. It's about making sure there's something left to save when all the fighting is finally over. It's about engineering survival itself.
If you're ready to level up, like and share this video. Subscribe and hit the bell to join the future of efficiency. Aira, your life optimized.